What's going on, Sumolings? Thank you so much for joining us for another product walkthrough webinar. I am Lindsay, and today I am joined by the team over at SAM.ai. SAM.ai is the first network-powered relationship and introduction management platform built on conversational AI. It is starting on AppSumo at just $59 for a lifetime deal. Before we dive into the walkthrough, I just want to tell y'all a few quick things. The first is if you want to tell us a little bit about why you're interested in SAM.ai, you can go ahead and do that over in the chat room. We love to hear from you. You can also let us know, where y'all are calling in from. We had a long conversation about that before we jumped on today. And if you have any questions about the tool, if you want to know how to get set up, anything like that, you can go ahead and leave those questions in the Q&A box down below this video. We will circle back to those at the end of the walkthrough. And then the last thing is that there will be a replay of this available. So if you need to step out for any reason, or if you want to watch this over and over again, you can totally do that. All right, that's it for me. Hey, Roz, how are you doing?
Hey, Lindsay, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I am excited to have y'all here today. I'm going to go ahead and we have an introvert here looking for a smart way to make meaningful connections. I love it. I am also an introvert. I don't think y'all can tell. All right, Roz, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away for the walkthrough, and then let me know when you're ready for those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, once again, Lindsay, thanks for having us. It's myself, Roz Chowdhury. I'm the founder of SAM.ai, as well as Marcos Dinnerstein, who's on this call. He's our outreach manager. Yeah, both of us, since Monday, it's been really, really exciting having hundreds of AppSumo folks joining SAM.ai platform. So allow me to first share my screen and basically give you a walkthrough. And obviously, we welcome questions and we welcome any sort of feedback that you might have. For starters, what does SAM.ai offer as it comes to the offer that's available on AppSumo? It actually offers quite a bit. It's not just the SAM intro piece. It's also the network-powered CRM, as well as several other modules. The best way to explain what we offer is if you have a look at our main window here, our pricing window, you're getting the modules that are available under the growth package, which is usually $75 or more per user per month. So if I were to show you all the pieces that you guys are getting: network powered CRM, case management, website live chat, and SAM Intro Pro. We're leading with SAM Intro Pro because it's really the very essence of what we do. We, unlike most software out there, it's the only platform that we're aware of that actually generates warm intros and leads from people that you know and trust, that you already have met and that you've already built relationships with. In this webinar, I'm going to actually show you how it works. I'm going to show you my own login, not a demo login, my own login, and kind of walk you through how I use it and what it does for me. So wanted to briefly cover all the modules. The one thing that you're not seeing that only Sumolings are getting is marketing automation. If you guys buy this, you're also getting marketing automation. So there's sometimes a misconception like, oh, I'm just getting an intro pack. No, you're getting Intro Pro plus CRM and a whole bunch of other stuff. So for starters, how does SAM Intro work and how does it differ than, let's say, something like a LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a very, very powerful social networking platform. It's considered a professional network. And over the years, I think over the last decade or so, it has grown to be a very broad network. I think a lot of people still use LinkedIn because there's so much value there. There's lots of great news, lots of great information, especially information related to, let's say, if you're recruiting someone or prospecting cold, it's not bad. We're not a cold prospecting platform. We feel that those are great if you're doing a mass marketing type of thing. But what we're all about is the science of how business happens. Marcos did some research recently, and there was a study done by McKinsey just about, I think in May, which essentially showed that digital sales is now more important than ever. And I think for most B2B businesses, digital sales really is all about networking. But considering what's going on now with the pandemic, when we cannot go to events and network, or when we cannot meet with our prospects and clients at round tables and things like that, it's virtually impossible to grow your business. So what do you do? What SAM.ai does is it leverages your pre-existing network, people that you consider your close-knit network. In your LinkedIn, you might have, let's say, 1,500 people that you know, but in reality, do you really know them? And can you ask them for an intro? Most likely not. Today, when we accept a LinkedIn invite, we're doing it out of courtesy or something like that. The amount of people that we truly know in our LinkedIn network is probably a good 5–10%. Those are the ones that we really know. And the rest are just sort of complimentary. Someone we bumped into at an event, someone who knows someone else that invited us and we joined. So that network is very broad and it has its own purpose. Our whole model is around, if you were to ask your accountant, hey, listen, you've been doing my bookkeeping for the last 5 years. I would love for you to give me some introductions to your other businesses that you're managing. Those are the types of folks you want to invite to SAM.ai. The reason you want to invite your close-knit network is simply because you get the most out of them. Referral, word of mouth, as well as warm intros have something like 40% more response rate than anything cold. If you're reaching people cold on LinkedIn or cold on email or cold on other networks, it's very difficult. Plus, the other difference between us and LinkedIn, for example, is that we don't use the first level of separation method. That's not our method at all. Just to show you an example, when you connect your SAM.ai account to your, let's say, Outlook or your Gmail, or let's say you import your data from your, let's say, other databases where you have your contacts, SAM not only grabs your contacts that you store. Let's say in Gmail you have, 500 contacts that you actually manually save. SAM grabs that. SAM also grabs those contacts that you never saved, but actually had email exchanges with. So in my case, in the last 4 years, I've exchanged emails with 2,000 people that I've never saved as contact. So SAM will grab them, not add them as a contact, but put them in a folder. So if I ever wanted to know, let's say, intelligence, how many CEOs do I know in California? If I know any CEOs in California, it'll pop up and say, oh, wow, you know X amount of CEOs. I know 3 contacts that are CEOs based out of California, right? So the beauty of this is that it will help you know who you know much better. SAM gets from Gmail or Outlook, for example, it gets their name, first name, last name, and email. That's all it gets. It doesn't get their email exchanges that's happening between you and them. However, it enriches the data using various methods of collecting data that's publicly available, such as their LinkedIn profile, their Twitter, their job title, etc. So when you ask them, who do I know who's a CEO in California? If you ask your Google contacts or your Outlook contacts, it's only going to show you contacts that you manually saved, and it's also not going to know all of them as with their title, because that's only if you put it. What SAM does is every contact, including the contacts that you did not save, will be added, enriched, meaning you'll see their picture, LinkedIn, Twitter, other relevant affinity data, 7 out of 10 of them. So if you add 100, there's a good chance 70 of them will have enriched data. And then you could then get a potential feedback on all the network that you have that you already are leveraging. So your network, when you join SAM, is those that you already know in your inbox. That's your network. Now, let's say you invite your accountant, and that accountant says, okay, I'm going to join Roz's network. Now, he or she does the same thing, right? He says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the 3-step setup. The 3-step setup is when you first log into SAM.ai, it walks you through the 3 steps where it says, okay, tell us a little bit about the type of people that you want to meet. Tell us, authorize your Gmail or your Outlook account, or if you have your contacts on a CSV file or LinkedIn, export them out of LinkedIn, put them into SAM. Once you do that, then it says, okay, invite some people that you want to invite to join your network. Now, I'm not going to go through the steps because it does take about 5 minutes. So now that my account is set up, it'll look something like this. By default, I could set preferences like, okay, I want to meet data scientists, right? Let's say I want to hire data scientists, or let's say I'm raising money for my company. Who would be the best person to make that introduction to me if I'm looking to hire a data scientist or an investor? Well, guess what? It would be people that I already know. So in this case, Marcos, who works at SAM.ai, already knows someone who's a data scientist. In this case, it's Shane, right? Then there's Michael Schiatti, who knows Aaron. So if I'm looking to hire a data scientist, instead of going randomly, I could or I want to just talk to a data scientist. I can say, hey, Marcos, would you mind making an intro to Shane, because you know Shane really well. It shows that your strength of your relationship with this person is 80%. When I click on intro request, it will automatically generate a script. I could change the script. It says, hey, Marcos, I would like to meet Shane. Would you mind making an intro? You could change the content here and you can send out the invite. So the best way to generate new warm leads and new prospects and new networking method is to go through your existing network of people that they already know based on their inbox communication, right? The other thing that's valuable to them is when you're sending that invite, they're getting special access to SAM.ai that they otherwise would not get. You cannot go to SAM.ai and get a free account, right? You have to be invited to join. So you're giving them a tremendous amount of power when you give them SAM.ai, because guess what? If they have one inbox or multiple inboxes or multiple contacts, they could centralize it. They could get enriched data where they now know everything about their contacts, no matter what inbox or what contact database it's in. And more importantly, they could also now see your network. If you go to my profile on SAM.ai, let's say you invite me. If you want to invite me, feel free. It's Roz at SAM.ai. When you pull up my profile, it'll show these are the amount of contacts I know. So in this case, I know 5,519 people. These are the types of people I know, and these are the companies that some of my contacts work at. So these are not like LinkedIn connections where I kind of know them. Maybe I know them. Maybe I was nice and accepted their invite. These are people that I've actually exchanged emails with, right? So that means I kind of know them pretty well. So our science is all about relationship strength within a close-knit group. Because if you ask when we started the business 2016, my friend Bill Carmody, who's an advisor of ours, he writes for Inc. magazine. So he helped me interview via email a series of questions that we sent out to about, I believe about 300 CEOs that are on the Inc. 500, 5,000 list. These are some of the fastest growing small businesses. Some of them are doing, 4,000, some of them have 4,000 employees, some of them have 80 employees, right? And he asked them one simple question towards the end, which was, what was the best source of your deal flow, or what was the best way to generate, lasting relationship with major clients? And most of the answers related to that question was, it's someone that I knew in my network that introduced me to a major account that made all the difference. It was a windfall because it was that individual that made all the difference. And our philosophy is there's no shortage of sales lead tools out there. There's no shortage of ways to bother people on LinkedIn cold or other networks cold, but this is the only platform out there that gives you the power of CRM as well as the ability to invite your close-knit network and exchange intro. The stuff that they see about you and the stuff that they see about others is very privacy conscious. So for example, in this case, Mike Krupit knows John, and all that I know is that Mike knows John, and that's John's title, and I have a little bit about his bio, right? So it's not giving away who you know and their contact information. It's just giving away, you know that person and you know them this well, and only your network could know who you know. I'm going to pause for a second just to check to see if you have any questions that are very urgent regarding this, because I know we're going to hold questions towards the end. But if you have, type it into the chat box, and Marcos will bring them up towards the end of the first 30 minutes. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on intro. I hope that it makes sense. There are three things that you're getting on SAM Intro. One is that you are able to bring all of your contacts into a central place, and then you're getting enriched data on those contacts so that it looks, so you could easily search them and do those things. The second thing you're getting is you're able to invite others that you consider your close-knit network, maybe an accountant, maybe a lawyer, maybe a partner, maybe a reseller that you have. When they join your network, not everyone's going to join. So, don't invite people that you don't know, right? Only invite people that you actually kind of know well. Because when you ask them for an intro, you want to make sure these are people that will actually say, yes, I'll give you an intro. So when you invite them, the vast majority of them will join your network, and they'll go through the setup process and do the same. And then it becomes a very powerful intra-networking type of an arrangement where they could ask you for an intro very securely and privately, and you could ask them for an intro. Even if you don't ask for an intro, it gives you tremendous amount of intel. So for example, I'm going to go to the CRM section right now because it's a perfect segue. So now I showed you SAM intro, which is over here at the Wi-Fi link here. I'm right now under the CRM. CRM data is your own business data, which means this is data that is only for you and your users that work for your company, right? And over here, you could manage your sales pipeline. You could look at data in multiple folders. So let's say you have multiple businesses that you run or multiple services. You could see how many deals you're doing in each folder. You could also, and this is what I was trying to show you earlier, if you switch to the list view, you could also see who knows who. So for example, John Mullen, who's a deal that I'm trying to work on, is already known by Jordan and Marcos. Jordan is part of my network, and Jordan knows John really well. Shane is known by Gary Kreisman, right? So if you have, let's say, 5,000 deals that you're trying to cultivate, maybe out of the 5,000, maybe a couple of hundred of them are already known by your network, right? So not only is that data available here, we also make the relationship available here, right? So once again, when you enter your CRM data, you could just go to SAM and click on import. Now that could be your marketing list or your sales list or your customer list. You would say CSV file, right? And you go ahead, go through the three-step import process. Once you import it, it takes SAM anywhere from 24 to 72 hours to enrich that data. Data enrichment means it tries to grab a lot about them and their businesses. So for example, if you plug in their website or if you plug in some of the other information, it will grab enriched data about themselves, like what is their LinkedIn and what is, what do they look like, as well as, what's their company logo, company social media profile, description, when it was founded, how many employees, all sorts of stuff that's already available in the public domain, right? So this data that you're seeing, otherwise in most other systems, you'd have to get it yourself. SAM automatically does that for you. And it takes a little bit of time, anywhere from, once again, 24 hours to 72 hours. But once you see the data enriched, it's very, very powerful. In the CRM, you could also look at each folder and get stats on those folder, right? The stats on those folder has a lot to do with being able to see, what sort of, let's say I'm looking at a marketing list. Let's say you attended an event and you have a big marketing list. You could essentially see how big that list is. Not only that, you could get it broken down. Let's say I'm looking at the 15,000 email agency valid list. In that list, I could essentially get a breakdown as to who works for what company, how big is the company, what are the titles. So I'll click on the stats. And by the way, every time there's a question, there's like a question of how to use it, there's a little walkthrough option here. So when I click on the stats, it shows me everything. It shows me a whole bunch of data that's pertinent to, how many of the people out of the 11,000 are presidents, how many of them are partners, where they are geographically, what cities, what are some of the industries that they're in, and other stuff, like if any of them are in Fortune 500 companies. Okay, so you get a tremendous amount of intel on your deals, such as your list. What I do is I put all my marketing lists here, I put all my sales deals here, I put all my customers here, right? And I put all my partners here, and my contacts are essentially my personal contacts, people I'm talking to in Gmail and stuff like that. We also rolled out a new view called Grid View. It's pretty amazing what Grid View could do. So for example, if you ever wanted to, let's say, drag and drop a field, you could drag and drop that here. You could also double click and edit. So let's say I want to edit the last name, right? I could just say testing. Oops, I double clicked it. I think I triple clicked it. So I'm just gonna go back and double click it. Yeah, when you click on the actual text, it takes you to the detail page. And I'm gonna show you that I'm actually glad I went there. So let's just say I wanted to change his title or last name. So what I could do is over here, I could just go ahead and add that last name. And then if I click on the text, it'll take me to the detail page where I could add more details. I could add items, the journey, as well as schedule follow-ups, do all sorts of CRM stuff. So for example, if I want to add a note or other CRM activities like log a call, I could say, I had a great, let me enable that first. Oops. I think during screen share, I cannot enable recording twice because it's already being recorded. But if you're using Chrome, you could enable recording here. And you could say, I had a great call with him. And then, say your notes or your call log, and it would essentially use your voice, convert it into text. And it's a Google Chrome extension that is pretty powerful, so you don't have to do a lot of typing. Okay, so that's the CRM. I'm going to go into something else called Live Help. So for each of you that have signed up, you're also getting something called Live Help. So I'm just going to go to SAM.ai. So you could install Live Help on your website, and it'll look something like this. It uses both voice as well as AI-assisted help. You could train the AI to answer some of your most common questions on your website. And then if you're available, you could also choose to answer your questions live for your clients, right? So I'm going to go to the live chat section and basically show you what that looks like. In short, it's essentially a live chat function that you could install on your website and enable live chat so you could bring in more deals, answer more questions 24/7, and you could train that data pretty much whenever you want. Okay, so these are some of the questions that we have added and trained. No matter how someone asks that question, it automatically gets answered. But on some of the questions, you could say transfer to a human, right? So over here, if I say, can I get a demo? It will look for it and it'll try to give me an answer. And then if it finds an answer, it will also basically give me an option to transfer it out. I'm already logged in, so it's not gonna pop up right now. But if I was logged into the actual account, it'll do that. In the training, you could create multiple departments. So for example, if you have a sales department, a customer service department, you could create those departments and do your training. We are holding an onboarding session next Friday at around this time. If you want to learn how to install it on your site, that's happening. It's called SAM HQ training session. It's October 9th at 3 p.m. So if you're already a user of SAM.ai, go to the webinar section. I clicked on the bell and I clicked on webinar, and you would go ahead and accept that, and we'll walk you through how to go ahead and set it up on your website. Also, now that we're here in this section, there are a lot of help videos available here that you could use. There are also support chat option that you could enable, or a support option that you could enable. You could submit a support form or ask live chat for support. Let me show you something else. I haven't really showed you the HQ in terms of the live, sort of the conversational AI. So for example, over here, if I wanted to say things like, how many referrals did we get from Martin Babinet? I could ask questions like, how many referrals did we get? Or what does my sales pipeline look like? What does my sales pipeline look like? Or even advanced questions like, let's just say, what are the sources of my referrals? If it will essentially look at the sales pipeline and give me that data. You could use iOS app or Android. If you use our mobile app, you could also scan business cards using our mobile app, and you would also have the power of the CRM on the mobile app. Let me make sure I'm going into the next section. Also, if you wanted to know how to do something, I'm going to click on how to. Bear with me a second. And over here in the how to section, let's say, how do I import data? It'll get you a video. Also, if you want to do an action, like let's say, add a user. it'll take you straight to that section. Now, it's not going to be able to answer every single thing in the universe because it's specifically trained to answer questions that are CRM related, but you could also see a whole bunch of sample questions. There's about close to, I would say about 30 questions that you could ask, but it's questions that you could ask in any way. You don't have to learn how to ask that question. You could just use your human language and ask those questions. I've got 3 minutes. I did not cover case management and automation, so I'll just quickly show you. Automation is a marketing automation and workflow automation tool that you could set up to automate your workflow. So let's say, for example, every time a lead comes in, you want to do email follow-up and a reminder to the salesperson or direct mail or lead assign. You could do that. So you could say, every time a web submission comes in, do this and then do that after 3 weeks. You could kind of set those sequences. It's sort of like how Marketo or HubSpot automation is. So that's kind of what automation does. And then case management, which is if you have a lot of customer service type of issues and you want to manage them centrally, you could use case management and you could manage everyone centrally. Let me just show you what case management looks like. It's sort of like a bug tracker or project management tool, semi-project management tool. It doesn't have all the beautiful graphics of a project management tool, but if you have a team of, let's say, 30 people or 5 people that you're working with, it tells you all the cases that are open, closed, who's working on it. You can select who's working on it. You could also see a timeline of who's doing what. This is also very valuable if you have, let's just say, for example, if you're selling a product on an e-commerce platform and you want to track any issues or complaints or anything like that. The other thing that I forgot to show you that I haven't shown you, there are some dashboards here that are pretty powerful, like marketing dashboard or CRM dashboard that you could leverage. Also, if you ever wanted to see what's under the hood, you could customize. SAM is an enterprise grade CRM, so you could customize a whole bunch of stuff, right? You could just say, I want to customize things like that. I have few modules that you guys may not have because I'm the admin and we have some internal modules that we use, but in your login, you probably have a good amount of settings that you've already purchased. If you want to see your plan and subscription, you would click here and you can see what plan you subscribe to and whether or not you want to upgrade, all sorts of stuff related to that. One last thing, if you ever want, if you ever doubt how SAM works, especially the sort of the intro, you could ask really vague questions like, who in my network could introduce me to someone at Google? And once you set it up and once you have a few people using it, this is the exciting part, right? Because I'm randomly searching and I'm like, well, do I know anyone that knows someone at Google that I could get an intro to? Over here, in a few seconds, whether you're using the mobile app or the web app, you would know who knows who in your small network. I have only about 98 people in my SAM network, but it's more powerful than having 1,500 in a broad network because these are people that I could actually rely on. And the network that we tap into are people that they really, really, really know because they're already talking to them. And SAM tells you how well they know them. So if someone doesn't know them very well, you don't want to go to them. But if someone knows them really well, you could really reach out to them. I'm at the 2:30 mark. I'm going to pause and try to knock out questions related to what you guys have posted. Marcos, I'm going to need your help.
Yes, indeed. Ready.
And let me know what I
Okay, so
well, I guess back to Lindsay. I wanted to throw it back to Lindsay because I think that was the plan.
okay.
Yeah, it's up to you, Marcos. Do you want to ask these questions here or would you like me to?
Well, let me give it a shot since I'm familiar with the product. Okay, thank you.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so early on we had, it looks like Sade asked, how did you get to know that the people you found were actually investors? Did the software pull that data in?
Just ask the last piece of it. Did the software data pull what in exactly?
Did SAM's software pull that data in to determine that they were investors?
Oh yeah. So let's say you go to someone's LinkedIn and their title is an investor. We query that, right? We would query that. So let's say in your contact, it's John Doe and you have john@abc.com. That's all you have. What SAM does is it goes and looks through what's available for that person, matching that email in different social media. It grabs their title as well as industry, as well as company name, and then it kind of says, yeah, these are the investors. Does that answer your question, Sade?
Let's assume so, unless we hear different. Another question. Yes, it does. Can SAM replace Salesflare or Agile? I publish beautiful books. How do I find anyone in the CRM who has a desire to write a book or ever published a book? That's a tough one. What do you think?
Does it replace those products? I don't know those products well enough to know whether or not SAM competes with them or has overlapping features. But all I like to say is that if you're using another CRM, you don't need to use them. SAM is going to be much more powerful and more is going to have much more rich data than any other platform in the market right now.
Yeah, a cursory look at Salesflare backs up what you're saying, Roz. Yeah, we're definitely providing richer data. Can you install live chats on several domains?
We are supporting one domain. Obviously, you could buy more license and we could do that, but per license, it's one domain.
Okay. Can you clarify about CMS, email marketing and event marketing features that are new and not advertised in your website? Are these included in the deal?
No, they're not included. They're internal modules that we have. We could get you guys special access, but they're just for internal purposes. They do work, but we don't sell them.
Okay. Is it possible to program the CRM to show a work stream or workflow of the next action required of that lead or prospect?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. The way you would do that, I showed you the pipeline. So the way you would do that is kind of your task, right? So pipeline is just one thing. So this is your pipeline. So that's one way to know what stage they're in. There's another function that we have that you might like, which is the task function. So I'm going to see if I could pull it up. Bear with me a second. I don't use it internally, but for the follow-up, actually it's enabled. For the follow-up, it will be super valuable. So save. And all the follow-up pertaining to your deals will show up under tasks. So give me a second. Let me just pull it up. So here are my tasks. So on a daily basis, it'll tell you all the open stuff you have to do per deal and who the client is and who it's assigned to and things like that. So let's say you're going after 30 people, you call 30 people today. In your log, you would say, I call this, I call that, and here's my follow-up. So there's something called rapid response. Those people that make a lot of calls or a lot of CRM activities, this is much more valuable than what the next step is, because unfortunately, the next step that you could see in the pipeline is not the same as task, and tasks are dependent on dates. So we give you more of a granular view. Also, if you're collaborating with multiple people, you could see other people's tasks and see if they are pending, done. If it's done, you just go like this. If it's not done, you go like that. So yes, this is how you would do it. It's more robust than, just, oh, next step is to send a proposal, but okay, what date? So with this, it's much more granular, but you could also visualize the next step using the pipeline, which is another way of doing it. And there's also something called a funnel. You could visualize it in the funnel. So if I go to the sales dashboard, I could also look at it from a funnel point of view. So there are several ways of doing it, but the short answer is yes, you could see next steps in your tasks and it'll remind you in the dashboard. So here's another funnel view, right? I didn't go there because I didn't want to spend too much time on CRM, but here's another one. Okay, let's go to the next question.
Okay, going back to an earlier question, Kevin O'Grady asks about being able to identify whether somebody has a desire to write a book or ever published a book before.
That's a good question. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But what I could say is that we have a very clever feature called search keywords in bio, right? And you could look based on bio, right? So over here, I'm going to simply say book, right? Or I don't know what the best term to use is, book published or author, right? A-U-T-H-O-R, A-U-T-H-O-R, right? So I'll just say author. Who in my network knows someone who has the keyword author in their biography, right? That might be one intent signal. I'm just going to randomly search to see if I know anyone. And let's see who turns up. Give it a few seconds.
And we'll.
Yep, there we go. I got 80 contacts that have author in their background. Co-author, this guy's an engineer and education on author. So yeah, I guess the short answer is yes.
Yeah, yeah. Someone asks, what is the VC match I saw in the module section?
Well, you guys don't get it. That's something we built for ourselves. We have a lot of modules that are internal that we're afraid to sell because we're just using it for ourselves. But a VC module is very, very interesting. What it does, and if you're interested, shoot me an email, raz@sam.ai, and I'll see if I can get you access. These are things we don't sell because we use it internally. But what it does is I could say, all right, who do I know that that could, or who is a VC, right? That could, oops, I got bumped out and logged back in. Who is a VC that could invest in a company at this seed level or at this level based on location, geography, and a few other criteria, right? So it's a pretty powerful feature, but it's very internal. So let's say my company stage is seed, SEED, and investors New York, and I'm trying to invest in AI, right? Just AI in general, and I'm trying to raise, let's say, 550,000, and he's a VC, not a private equity, not angel, not fab, not corporate, and it'll show me from a list of 200 who it is, and how to contact them, stuff like that. That's what. If you want it, shoot me an email, raz@SAMai. I'll try to hook you up. I'm gonna ask for a review though. I'm definitely gonna ask for a review.
And Rosario asks, is that Rahul B in your network? Rahul B from Fresh LMS?
No, it's Rahul Bansali. Rahul Bansali. He is one of our advisors. I don't know what MLS is, but he is an investor. He's a venture capitalist as well as an advisor to SAMai. His last name is Bansali. Okay, next question.
Okay, did I miss anybody? I think we're...
I do think those are all the questions that we have right now.
Yeah, I think we're covered.
Sumalings, if you have any more questions, you can go ahead and send those in now. You'll be the first one to come up. Anything else that y'all want to share?
Yeah, I was just wondering, just feedback. So far, did I answer your questions? Did I give you a good overview of what you're looking for? Or did I skim through stuff, or did I go through stuff too fast?
I don't think so. If anybody in the chat wants to let us know if we've missed anything, if there's anything that you wanted covered. I thought this was really thorough. I really, I enjoyed it. Yep, you're a good explainer. It was fast, but very informative. Somebody asked, how may we partner, or is there an affiliate link?
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yep, shoot us an email, raz@SAMai, or I think for AppSumo affiliate, I think they have somewhere you could go for that, right, Lindsay?
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
you could reach out to me, and I'll get that answer for you as well for AppSumo affiliate program.
Wonderful. All right, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up then. I know every time I say that, somebody comes through with a question, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. Sumolings, for CRM, the value of deal
cannot be related to the product.
That's not really a question.
Well, I think that falls under assigning a value to the item and the number of items.
Oh yeah, you could, absolutely. So for example, you could open up, we even support clients that do e-commerce. So let's say in this particular deal, right, you wanted to attach an item, we could support up to 10,000 items, and you could attach, the product or services you're selling. So the short answer is yes, absolutely. You see, add a product or service, boom, and then over here, I would go ahead and add a product or service. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, thanks for translating that question for me.
Yeah. And you could see the dollar amount in the pipeline as well, right? So yes, you certainly can. And you should, because obviously everything we sell has a dollar amount.
Awesome. Matt wants to know if there will be a recording of this. Yes, you will be able to rewatch this as many times as you want. It'll be out about an hour after we finish up here. Would you connect to Yahoo email client to input contacts?
That's a very good question. Unfortunately, the two major email providers that we have live API with is Office 365 and Gmail. But any context you have outside, we do allow you to import them. But first thing you got to do is export them out of Yahoo in a CSV file and then import them as CSV. So the short answer is yes, but it's not a live API. There's a little bit of manual work.
And another is multi-currency supported.
Right now, this second, it's not, but we are definitely looking into it, and that's in our pipeline. We've also had questions related to multi-language. We don't directly support multi-language. It's not multilingual in a sense that we haven't custom coded the application to support, let's say, Spanish or Korean. However, what some people do is they set up the preferred language in their browser, and based on that, it automatically translates the text that it sees in each mobile app, each web app. Now, going back to the question on multiple currencies, we don't have that. We're supporting just dollar right now, but it's such an easy function that if it's something you're waiting on, it's probably a couple of months away for us to knock out.
Great, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Sumolings, if you have not already, you can redeem your codes at appsumo.com/SAMai. Again, this is starting at $59 for a lifetime deal, and it is backed by AppSumo's 60-day guarantee, so you can go ahead and get set up, play around with it, and see how it's working for you. Once you've done that, we love to hear how you're loving the product. So you can go ahead and leave those reviews on the deal page. You can also leave any more questions that you have on the deal page as well. Thank you so much, Raz and Marcos. I really appreciate y'all being here and helping out today.
Thanks for having us, Lindsay. Thanks. Yep. Thank you, everyone at the Sumoling community.
Yep, total pleasure.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Take care.
Likewise.